All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. We are back. We had a short commercial break, really quick, but we are back. I want those of you that's on here, go ahead and grow this room. Go ahead and grow this room. Let's go ahead and get in. I really believe that there's getting ready to be something that's going to add value to your life and who you are. As you're coming in the room, let me know that you are here. Let me know that you are watching with us. I am always excited. Every time we get the opportunity to come in and share. Those of you that are watching the replay, you can skip past this. This is probably at about a minute and 55. I'll get started in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds for those of us, but I want you to jump in with me really quick. It's not going to be long today, but it's going to be strong, and I'm going to tell you why. That's why I had to jump off just really quick to handle something and come back in. But I think I see you on here. Thank you. Hey, Jamie, I see you. Thank you so much for greeting. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Listen, this is Cultivate. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I've already taken up some part of your day, so I want to get right into it. Tag two leaders, tag two individuals that you believe that they are great leaders, whether in ministry or marketplace or even domestically. I want you to tag them. I want you to tag them. That this is what Cultivate Conversation is all about. That Cultivate are for individuals, leaders that are looking to be empowered and inspired and launched into their greatness, launched into their potential. They can do launched into everything that God is calling for them to be in ministry and marketplace. Capricia, thank you so much for jumping in. Thank you so much for jumping in. I see y'all jumping in. Listen, hit that share button. Let's get into it. Help, I'm grinding, but I'm not growing. I'm grinding, but I'm not growing. I want to say this that God, again, has given us the privilege to be able to lead and the privilege to be able to do something great in the earth that will be bigger than ourselves. And I think a lot of times as leaders, I'm talking to leaders, church leaders, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, I'm talking to anybody that is building something from the ground. Anybody that's building something, it can be your production company, it can be your t-shirt company, it can be your nail company, your hair business, whatever it can be your church, your evangelistic ministry, but your house, but you're building it from the ground. That I want us to understand this. I'm gonna just cut straight to the chase because I'm gonna tell you why I had to get off of here in just a moment. But I believe that in the birthing process, that when God gives us the idea, that when it is that God gives us the idea, that when God gives us the revelation to what it is that He desires for us to do, I think many times that we desire to see growth overnight. And so the first point that I want to really share is that growth does not happen overnight. That growth does not happen overnight. That I know you're launching. I know you got your graphics. I know you got your website. I know you did all your legal stuff on the back end. I know you got your marketing stuff together and you really got the goods. But the reality is that growth does not happen overnight. That growth happens, check this out, in seasons. This is what I wanted to share with you today, that growth happens in seasons. That I can speak from a pastoral view, that God has allowed us to construct and to develop a ministry from the ground. No one gave us a ministry. This ministry was not a ministry before I came into pastoring. No, that what we're building at Momentum City, we're building it out of the mud. Do you hear what I'm saying? We're building it out of the mud, no loans. No one gave us a dime. No one gave us a dollar. Now, God has raised up thousands. He's raised up thousands, if you will, to be a blessing to our ministry. But what I'm talking about is in the upfront. No one gave us anything. No one said, here's $5,000, go and start. Here's $100, go and start. But what we're building is we are building it from the mud. And let me say this, this month alone, this month alone, that my church, our church, that we have taken in over 35 new partners this month alone. To the point, that's why I had to get off of here, because it has caused us to start rethinking some things and how we're doing church. It has caused us to rethink some things as to how we're doing church. And as a leader, as a visionary, because I'm talking to visionaries today, you always want to move ahead of the game. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, but you want to always be ahead of the game. You always want to have an appetite for something more. As a leader, not only should you have an appetite for something more, but you should have already eaten from the good of that land on the other side. You need to know what it tastes like. You need to know the experience, or you need to know the wherewithal on the other side. Because what will happen is that when growth comes, I'm still talking about growth happens in seasons. What happens is when that season of growth comes, it comes, and you're not going to have time to prepare while you're in that growth season. So while it is that you are building to that you should already be prepared, you should already be up on game about what it is that you need to do. And so our church has taken in 35 new members this month alone. And so I reached out to our team yesterday, and I let the team know. I said, man, if God continues to do it like this, if we keep the same energy that we're keeping, then that will produce us at least 400 new partners this year. Now I believe that God can do it. I have friends, I have colleagues, I have individuals that I've seen God do it for them. Because I want to just share this with you. Growth happens in seasons, but let me also say this: all growth doesn't have to be incremental, but some growth can be exponential. That means this: all growth doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 15. All growth doesn't have to be like that. Some growth will be 100, 350, 1,000, hey, 1,000, 1,500, and God will begin to move you exponentially. As a leader, it's important to understand that it's important for us to be prepared for growth when growth comes. Why? Because when growth comes, growth has to be embraced in that season. But the thing about growth is that growth doesn't always stay. No, 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 because growth happens in seasons. Those individuals that are building churches, those individuals that are building ministries, that are building business, that are doing this, I want you to take this down. I want you to first understand that growth doesn't happen overnight. You did not just become grown today. There was a steady, continuous, and consistent growth, which now your body is the way that it is right now. You had to go through a process to get to the place where you are right now. And so now we know that growth doesn't happen overnight. Number two, growth happens in seasons. Not only seasons, but there's a cycle. This is the cycle. You have a growth season, then you have a grind season. You have a growth season, and then you have a grind season. What do you do in the growth season? In the growth season, you embrace growth, you baptize yourself in growth, but you have to know that right behind this growth is another level of grind. Because I'll just use my church for an example. Our sanctuary, we have 100 seats in our sanctuary. There are 100 chairs in our sanctuary. On this past Sunday, there were 77 individuals in the sanctuary, which means that we had 23 chairs that was available and open. 23. Okay, so If we are preparing and we're embracing this season of growth, that means this: we should already be thinking about, because we should already be thinking about what happens next week. What should we be telling the ushers now? Because we don't believe that this was just a one time thing, but we believe that this was the start to something great. Because growth, yes, has to be prayed for, but it has to be prepared for. You have to prepare to grow, because growth doesn't just come because you say, "Oh, I got a calling of God. Oh, I got an inkling to do this business. Oh, I got something." No, no, no. Growth happens when you prepare. I was talking to somebody today, and they said, "Man, so what are you doing um, to see the growth and the momentum that you guys are seeing right now?" Now, mind you, we're still a growing church. Now, don't get it twisted. We're not mega yet. We're not. Well, we are mega in our experience and our encounter. But as far as numbers, if you will, we're still a growing church. That we don't just look at, oh, God did something Sunday, and now we on to the next level. No, 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 no. Let's keep that consistent first. But we always have to be ahead of the game. So if our sanctuary only seats 100 and there were 77 that were here in the sanctuary on Sunday, then what do you do? Y'all, that's why I told you. That's why I had to jump off here real quick, because um, the contractor was before time, knocked on the door. The contractor is before time, supposed to be here in 30 minutes, but he just wanted to let me know that he was here. But they're going to go do their thing until I get done doing my thing here, because this matters as well. But what I began to think about is what happens when all 100 seats are taken every Sunday. Then now we have to move the children out of the sanctuary, and the children, they'll be in their space, and then we'll build and stay consistent where we are. But while we are in this phase right here, because I'm up preaching on Sunday and I keep seeing people walk in, which was a good thing, but in the back of my mind I was like, what we gonna do? So here is where we are. While we are in this season of growth, while we have embraced this season of growth, we're already on to the next. Do you hear what I'm saying? While we're in this season of growth, we're already on to the next, because we never want to be caught by surprise. And I never want to have to turn people away from church on Sunday morning. So we're already on to the next. I already talked to my key people to let them know what we're doing. And since it happened live, I'll just share it with you all. One of the first things that I began to do on Sunday night is I began to think about what God did on Sunday and embrace that. But then Holy Ghost said, you're going to have to figure out what's next, because if it's like this again next week and the church is in a supernatural, thank you, progression, and it continues to go the way that it's going, then you have to find something to do with the children. So we're already working on that now. Then he says, well, what happens when the sanctuary is full again? Because it's only 100 seats. So I'm only telling you guys this since it's live. I told my the leadership team, but it just happened. It happened that way because I guess God wanted you to know, to use that as a ministry point. Contractors are here. Do you hear what I'm saying? Today. Now, mind you, this just happened. This just happened on Sunday. Today's what? Tuesday. Contractors are here today because I began to call my guy. I called my guy Jose. I said, Jose, my friend, Jose, my friend. I said, there's something happening in our church. I know I wanted you to do the drop ceiling in our church. I wanted you to take out the drop ceiling of our church. But can you come by? Do you all do renovation? He said, yes, yes, brother, we do renovation. I said, can you all come by? And I need you to map out with me how we could upgrade and update our sanctuary. I said, these are the dimensions that I want our sanctuary to be, that I want our sanctuary to be these dimensions, which we're going to be, that with these dimensions, that we will be growing our sanctuary another 25, no, another 2,200 square feet. So total, because right now our sanctuary is somewhere around, 1,000 something, but the new sanctuary will be a little bit over 3,000 square feet. So where we have 100 chairs, we'll be able to have comfortably 225, 250. And from that point, it's like, God, it's on you. We got to go, or get whatever the case may be. But we're already on it right now. Why? Because we need to get the numbers now. We need to know what it's going to cost for renovation. We've already got the approval to do whatever we want to do in the building that we're in. I'm still talking about growth. We already got the approval to do whatever we want to do in the building that we're in. And so now, those of you that came to our church in Conyers, those of you that came to the Conyers location, the new sanctuary will be a little bit larger than the sanctuary in Conyers. And so that's what the contractors are here today to help me map out how we're going to do it. They'll develop a blueprint, and then they'll give us a mock up on how it's going to look. Why? Because we have to put it in front of the. I'm talking to leaders. I'm not just talking to lay people, because now we have to put it in the face of the people to see what we can do and what we can achieve together. That's growth. Getting people centered around the why, which leads me to this. I gotta go. I gotta do it quick today because I was caught off guard. But there are individuals that are saying that I'm grinding hard. I'm doing all that I know how to do, but it's not growing for me. The clientele is not there. The fish are not biting the rod. It's not growing for me. The first thing that I want you to write down, I'm going to talk about three M's today, but the first thing that I want you to put down is number one, what is my motive? I want to talk about motives. Motives. One thing that individuals have tried to do, but they have failed every time, is to try to con God. We can fool each other. We can fool the next man or the next woman, but we cannot fool God. God knows the secret places of our heart. So the first thing, that when we're praying for growth and that we're saying that we're grinding and we're building and we're doing all of this cultivating, but what is your motive? If your motive is to impress and not to impact, then you're already behind the game. That our motive has to be to impact over impress. Somebody need to write that down. That my motive of why I want my business to grow, why I want my record to sell, why I want my business to be booming, why I want the next level, why I want my church and my ministry to go, that number one, I have to check my motive. I have to check my motive to make sure that I am not in it to impress, but I'm in it to impact. It's a thin line, though, between impression and impact, because with what God gives you, you want it to look good because you're presenting it before the eyes of the people. You're presenting it before the consumer. That you want the consumer to buy in whatever it is that you're looking to grow. And so you want it to look good, but you have to make sure that your motivation is not solely to impress, but to impact. You can have, and I'm talking from the church standpoint, but you can put it business, whatever, but you can have 1,000 members and you can impress your neighbors, but you're not making an impact. But you can have 200 members and you can be making an impact because you're not in the game to impress anyone. God knows the motives of our heart. God knows those secret places in our heart. Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Uh-oh. Why do you want your own building? Why do you want this? Why can't you partner with somebody else? Why do you have to be number one? Because there are some people, and I know that I'm talking to leaders, but I'm getting ready to go a little bit deeper in leadership when I say this. There are some people that are not called to be a number one, but you will be a banging number two. And when you embrace that I am the one that holds up the number one, I am the one, because see, the number one doesn't have the grace that the number two has. Because the number one may have the art down pat, but then the number two may have the administration down pat. Do you see what I'm saying there? And so you need both. You need the number one, they're the voice. But then you need the number two because they're the ones that's going to mobilize the vision. And so individuals must know, what am I called to? Do not get out of a space where you are a successful number two, a successful number three, because you want to be number one. Can I tell you something? It costs to be number one. And I'm not just talking about money, but it costs to be number one. And for some people, they are not willing to pay that kind of cost to be number one. It can cost your time, and time is everything. It can cost your character. It can cost how you vacate. Do you hear what I'm saying? Because you're number one, it comes with stipulations. It comes with certain disciplines. Yes, I may listen to that, but I'm not going to post it. Yes, I may go there, but I'm not going to post it because it's not for everybody, because I don't want to be a stumbling block. Come on, let's start talking about this kind of stuff. Now there are certain things that as a leader, that as a number one, even as a number two, that there are certain disciplines that we have to have that we just can't do. Check this out. Check this out. You're number one. You're number one. I know that we're entering into the relationship season. Give me 1 second. That we're entering into the relationship season. But if you're number one and you may be dating, check this out. You're number one and you may be dating. If that person that you're dating doesn't understand that there are certain things I can't do, that there are certain things I can't post. Why? Because I have to be disciplined and diplomatic in certain things. Now that don't mean privately that you're wild neither, but that means that because you're number one, it costs. That's all I'm trying to say is it costs a greater discipline. There's a greater demand. Number one, identify your motive. Number two, change your mannerism. Number one is our motive. Number two is our mannerism. That I was talking to a preacher today, and they said, "Man, I see what God is doing there. What's happening?" I said, "What I did was, number one, I made sure, and I continue to make sure that my motive is for impact and not to impress. Because when it is that momentum gets or receives our first 500, I don't care, 350, 250, there will be individuals around me that will be able to validate the fact that the same way he preaches to 250 and to 500, he preached to 12. The same way that he preached to 1,000, he preached to 40. The same way. I got that revelation because God gave me this about growth. TD Jakes was TD Jakes before we knew him as TD Jakes. When we knew him as TD Jakes, he was already TD Jakes. Cody, what are you saying? Bishop Jakes was already Bishop Jakes before we knew him as Bishop Jakes. When we met him as Bishop Jakes, he had already been Bishop Jakes the whole time. Okay, Bishop Long. When we saw Bishop Long was always Bishop Long. He was Bishop Loaning all the time, but you came into the knowledge of him when he's just been Bishop Long. All I'm trying to say is whenever a person remains consistent and who they are and what God has called them to do, and they focus on what God has called them to do, by the time individuals get to know who you are, your testimony will be, I've just been doing the same thing that I've been doing when it was 12 people in Scottsdale. I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing when it was 50 people in Conyers. I'm doing the same thing. And so number one, we want to make sure that our motive is together. Then number two, we want to make sure that our mannerism is together. That means that now that my motive is together, that means that my hands and my feet have to start aligning with my mouth. My heart is right. My hands and my feet have to start now aligning with my heart. That means that I am starting to get things in place and I am preparing for growth because growth has to be prepared for. You can pray all night, Father, in Jesus' name. I know churches that's been in church for 50 years, and you go there right now on a prayer night. They got power, but they have power and they have prayer, but they didn't have preparation. And that's why they're still small. Now they got power though. They got power and they know how to dance, they know how to shout, they know how to get the people, they know how to teach, but they will never go beyond the level that they are not willing to prepare for. They will never go beyond this level because they're not willing to prepare for the next. When we prepare, that we're telling God, I'm ready for the next level. What if God was saying, I got the harvest ready? Because the Bible says in the book of Matthew that the harvest is plenteous. What if God was saying, I'm holding this harvest back until you get to a place that you're ready to be able to handle this harvest? See, God won't give it to you because he know if I give you the harvest right now, you're going to mess it up. And especially if you are in ministry, people's souls are on the line. That's a whole nother conversation for another day because we have to be careful on how we treat God's people. We got to be careful on how we handle God's people. So God say, I'm going to send the harvest, but I won't send the harvest until you get prepared. So what did I do? God began speaking to me. I was in New Jersey, but God was already speaking to me before New Jersey. But it just so happened that in New Jersey, there were two elders in our church that came to New Jersey with me. They came to New Jersey with me in this time of me praying, and I'm thinking about the next year because I think New Jersey was December. That was in December, the first Sunday in December. I'm preaching in New Jersey that evening, but that weekend, they had already flew to New Jersey before me, and I got to New Jersey, and I had opportunity to pray, had opportunity to fellowship, and then had an opportunity to sit down with these two key individuals. I'm telling leaders this for a reason. Why? Because you may be number one, but you cannot do it by yourself. That's another point. You cannot do it by yourself. So I began to meet with both of these individuals that were already elders in our church, that were already working in the church, but listen to this, they were bold enough because you just don't want yes people around you. They were bold enough to say, Pastor, we see you working. We see you spinning your wheels. We know you love the people. We know you care about the people, but we are not solid on the vision. We're ready to work. We're ready to do. We're ready to jump in. Whatever you tell us to do, we're ready. But can you give me the vision again? Can you give us the mission again? And it hit me because as a leader, you can think that you are reiterating you can think that you are but no. If someone comes to you and say we don't know, that means that you as the leader, you have not properly interpreted, you have not properly laid out the vision. Check this out, because if you do not properly lay out the vision, you will cause people to grow. That the harvest will come, but they will be only connected to your voice and not the vision. The voice is the who, the vision is the why. The voice is the who, the vision is the why. And it is a danger when it is that you're developing ministry, when you're developing a company, and everyone is solely there because of the who and not the why. And that's when I knew. I said, I need to sit just at least these individuals down, go through what the vision is for our church. And then I need to give them a specific assignment. Guess what these assignments were? These assignments were not to preach, it was not to lay hands, it was not to do anything spiritual in a sense. But their job, one of their jobs, were to help to develop systems and processes that were further the growth and the health of what we're doing. Now, we just got 40 people at this time. It's just 40 people. At this time, it's just 40 people. But God says, do you wait until it gets to 400 to start developing systems? Oh, because let me give you this other nugget. Growth is not spiritual. Growth is not spiritual. Growth is systematic. Growth is not spiritual. Lord, we're praying for 100. We thank you that you're calling men from the north, south, east, and the west. We thank you that the harvest is plenteous and the laborers are few. And if you never do anything about it after you get off of your knees, we're going to stay small. Because growth is not spiritual. Growth is systematic. Growth is intentional. So when it is that those individuals kept coming in on Sunday while I'm preaching, I'm thinking about on one end, I'm thinking about what are we gonna do? I gotta talk to the ushers, but then I'm also like, we planned for this. This is what we prepared to happen. So I made one individual. This individual is over all the systems and processes and just making sure that the overall health of what we're building is congruent with the vision. But she couldn't do it until she first understood the vision. She knew me. She loves me. She's been with me for over a year. But she could not really move in this new assignment until the vision was reiterated. Then we had another elder. We said, you're good with follow-up. Because this Elder Tim is the one. He's like, I talked to Sister Watermelon. She said she's going through it this present time, but I prayed with her. I told her that all was gonna be well. She did let me know that she'll be back in church at such and such right now. She's need a call, but I'll call back in and check back with her on next week. You need people like that. You need people, because it's not that I don't care, because God knows I do. God knows I care. But when I'm thinking about the bills, I'm thinking about my next sermon series, I'm thinking about the worship, I'm thinking about growth. So yes, I have my days where I can call and do all of that. But when you have someone that this is what they do, that they say, Pastor, I will preach, but I don't have to. Pastor, I will pray, but I don't have to. I want to be down where the people are at. And I want to be where the people are. And we put individuals in place and developed and yet still developing a system. And that's when I began to see a turnaround come in our ministry since December. That's when I began to see a turnaround happen in our ministry. Now, I understand that growth happens in season. You got a growth season, then you got a grind season. So right after this season of growth where we are, we're going to keep this same energy, but we're getting ready to grind. What are we doing? I'm at church yesterday at 8 o'clock. At 8 a.m. I'm at church at 8 a.m. I'm here all day because what I'm doing is I said I have to get certain people in place, get certain things and certain systems in place right now. We're preparing. We're preparing right now as if there are already 200 here every Sunday. What do you do with them? How do we assimilate? How do we get them engrafted in the vision? How do we get them to start working in the church? Who do they go to? Who's in place for that? Who's the administrator? I know you're the minister of music, but you need an administrator because this is for church. This is for church people. Most individuals that are called to music, most minister of music, they may have a piece of administration, but they're very highly gifted in creativity and art. They're very highly gifted in creativity and art. So therefore they play, therefore they sing, they teach parts. The other part, though, the other part is where they may lack in. So therefore, it's always good that yes, we have a minister of music, but we have an administrator that assists that person because your grace is performance. Okay, well, we're not supposed to be performing before God. You know what I'm saying? But your grace is to sing. Your grace is to play. Your grace is to teach. So now we need to partner you up with an administrator within your ministry that can keep you solid because that's not your grace. Your grace is that's your grace. Your grace is to play, but your grace is not think. You're not thinking about Resurrection Sunday in December, but the administrator is. You're not thinking about how we're going to celebrate someone's birthday on the praise team. So that's another part. Number one, we check our motives. Number two, our mannerisms. That means that if we're believing God for growth, then we begin to start preparing because the Bible begins to tell us that faith without works is dead. So God says that this ain't just spiritual. Faith is a spiritual word, but then work. He said you're gonna have to do something pragmatic. You're gonna have to do something practical in order to make this happen. And when we develop systems and yet developing, I'm starting to see a turnaround in our church because number one is our methods, number two is our mannerism, but number one is our motive. Number two is our mannerisms. But then number three, our methods. Our methods. God's message, and I'm gearing this to church, but you can use this for marketplace. The message doesn't change. The method does. The message doesn't change, but the method does. There was a time that I could get around a group of young people and I can open up a big book like this, a big commentary like this, and we could just begin to go and dive into the Word of God. That day is no more. Now we can still do it, but I probably won't have this big commentary. I may just have my phone and I may just have my alliteration points already ready in conversation form to be able to share it with them. You taking away the word of God? No, no, no. We're not taking away the message, but my methods, because they may not hear me in 2024 with this in my hand. But this is my boundary. This is my boundary. We won't go out the word, but they may hear me if I come in a group with this and start talking versus this. The message never changes, but the method has to change. And the problem is with, okay, check this out. Check this out. Check this out. Um, um, Starbucks did not invent coffee. Starbucks did not invent coffee because people were stopping at Quick Trip before work. They were stopping at different gas stations, BP, to go and get coffee. But Starbucks said, we're not going to change the message, but we're going to change the method. The method is how you get coffee on a Monday morning, how you get your latte. You don't have to go in the QT anymore. You can just drive through. Chick-fil-A, they did not start the fast food industry. The message is the same. They're not the only ones that sell chicken. The message is the same. But the method, how we sell chicken, how we cater to our individuals, that we're different from churches. Yeah. That Chick-fil-A, that we're different from McDonald's. The message is the same, but our method that we use is different. So when it is that we're grinding, but we're not growing, I want to talk to the individuals that says, I'm grinding, I'm spinning my wheels, but I'm not growing. I want you to, number one, ask God for the grace to be able to handle growth, because God will not grow you beyond your capacity. Or I'll say it this way, God will not grow the thing until you are able to handle it. God will not grow that thing beyond your capacity to handle it. I'm going to say that one more time. God will not grow that thing that He has given you beyond your capacity to handle it. So when it is that you are praying for growth, then now I'm praying for the grace of God, the enabling power of God, that I may be able to do and to complete my assignment. But I'm also praying for capacity. Do I even have the capacity to pastor 250 people? Do I have the capacity to pastor 2,000 people? You may not have the capacity. Your capacity may just be 10. So the problem is, it ain't God. It's not the product, or sometimes it is, but it's not God. But God says, I'm only going to give you what your capacity can handle. You about to pull your hair out of your head with 25 members. You throwing in the towel every week, and you only have 50 people, and you throwing in the towel every week. All because you think that the more people that come, the more prosperity comes. You think the more people that comes, then you'll be more at peace. Oh no. With more people, you have more problems. With more people, you have more problems. And if you cannot live on this level with the problems that you have to endure, oh, there is a level. If you cannot make it when your budget is 4,200, you definitely not gonna make it when your budget is 40,000. I look at some pastors, I said it openly, so it's no secret. It's no secret that our church is a year and 10 months, a year and 10 months, year a year and 10 months, and our building that we pay for is $4,200 a month. $4,200 a month. The first church we had was $3,200 a month. Then we couldn't afford 3,200. Then God took us to a shared space in Scottsdale that was only $1,000 a month, and that was by choice because they really did not give us a number, but they just asked what could we do, and $1,000 was that. So God took us from $3,200, and pastors on here, when we just talking about, I'm just talking about the building. I'm just talking about the not gas, not Georgia Power, not internet, not musicians, not maintenance, not painting, not carpet cleaning, not none of that, not hanging TVs. I'm just talking about just the building. Every month is $4,200. Now, I know you know pastors that their budget is $25,000 a month. We're not there yet, but in under 2 years, I'm looking at a church. I'm looking at a ministry that is strong. That in under 2 years, that we have the capacity to maintain and maintenance $4,200 a month. Pastor, you saying that to no, I'm not saying that to brag. Oh, because God knows we're still in our testimony. Don't you think for a second that we made it. But I said it to say this. I know individuals that have been pastoring for over a decade. Hey man, what y'all doing over there? Our spot is $4,000 a month, $4,200 a month. 4,200. Man, if we're starting like this, that lets you know that our capacity, that the weight that we can handle. So when it is that we have the next property and it's 12 a month, 12,000. When it's 15, he says, I'm watching how you manage the 42. I'm watching how you take care of the $4,200 a month. And if you can be consistent and faithful in the $4,200 a month, I'll take you to $8,400 a month. I'll say, oh, because you thought the more people come, then the less you're gonna have to do. No, because the more people come, I can't hold 1,000 people in this building. But there will be a building that we can hold 1,000 people, and it may not be $4,200 a month. Or it may. God just might do something. But we decree and declare that ownership is in our view. But we've already shown before we even got this place, that we had to show our numbers that we bring in, and we were able to do that. And under 2 years, God has grace and favor this ministry. Why? Because we're looking at our motive. We're always looking at our mannerism, and we're always looking at our method. We're looking at our motive, making sure that our heart is right, that our heart is not to impress, our heart is to impact. That we're looking at our mannerisms to understand that my hands and my feet, they have to align with my mouth and my heart. That now I have to start doing something, because God doesn't just give me what I pray for, He gives me what I prepare for. That God gives me what I prepare for. Now, preparation can be challenging, because preparation, you're doing all of this preparation and you're not seeing anything happen yet. You're doing all of this preparation, and yet you still see the same 5 people, the same 20 people, that you get 2 likes on the pic you got, and that can be frustrating. But in preparation, God is developing your character, and He is also cultivating that capacity. God is cultivating your character, and then He's digging to get that capacity at a greater level. If you cannot be consistent with 10 people, I'm gonna give you a true story. I When we got here and started doing Bible study, that we started implementing Bible studies on Wednesday nights. That at first, Bible study was all right. You know what I'm saying? Bible study was all right. We had our faithful, 15, 20 that would come to Bible study. And then it started to quickly diminish to where I'm coming to Bible study and it was about 6 of us, 8 of us. And I began to get discouraged. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to come to this church every Wednesday for 6 people. I'm not gonna come for 6 people and burn gas and George Brown. I'm talking to you real like a pastor. Is that I'm not gonna drive all the way from here to come up here to teach 6 people. And so I took Bible study. Those of you that's a part of Momentum, you've seen me. I said we're gonna go hybrid. One week we'll be in person. The next week we'll be online. One week we'll be in person. The next week we'll be online. And of course, we began to do the hybrid thing. And while we were doing the hybrid thing, God began to say, Negro, I'm saying the good word, but Negro, who are you that you long for a building? You pray for you all to have your own building and for you all to have space where you can grow and space and room to grow. And then I give you the space, but because it don't look like what you want it to look like right now, how dare you tell the people we gonna leave the space where we are empty and we just gonna come once a week because I'm gonna go online. He says, if you build it, I will fill it. If you build it, they will come. I said, God, you did build it. He said, no, 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 no. You still thinking about building a church. He says, you got to build every single entity. It has to be built. And it wasn't until I was talking to a bishop and he was just sharing some things and he said something to the degree that he said, I'm building up our Wednesday nights. And God said, that's what it is. Sunday, you can be all right with Sunday. You got to build your Sundays. But then he said, you got to build Wednesdays just like you build Sundays. You have to build your midweek worship service, a Bible study, the same way you build your Sunday morning encounter. The reason why less people are coming is because we know the statistics. We get that. More people, they want to be inspired than it is educated because Bible study is for education, Sunday is for encouragement. Okay, we get that. But then he says, you're going to have to build it. And the only way to build it is you're going to have to be creative and then you're going to have to be consistent. It can't be this 1 week on, 1 week off stuff because then people get mixed up. Are we going to Bible study this week? Are we not going to? And too much thinking. If you let them think too much, if we got, if we don't have, are we doing Bible study today? Are we not doing Bible study today? They're going to just stay at home because they'll say, either way, I'm going to catch it. If it's live, in person, they still going to stream. If he's online, I'm still going to catch him either way. So I'm just going to stay home. But I've been seeing growth even in our midweek encounters. Even in our midweek encounters, I've been seeing growth because we're remaining consistent and we're building it. That's still preparation. Don't be afraid to build it. If you can't preach or talk to three, if you can't manage three, you'll never get to 300. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm done. I'm done. But growth happens because of our motives. Heart got to be right. Our mannerisms, our hands and our feet, they have to align with our heart. And then our methods. The message may change. No, no, no. The message will never change, but the method, that has to be updated. I'm grinding, but I'm not growing. Let's go back and pray for grace. Let's go back to see. Hold on. Can I go here? Let's go back to see, is this the will of God for my life? I would rather thrive being a number two than trying to be a number one and I'm losing myself. Dude, I would rather thrive being an associate than losing everything trying to be the senior. Some individuals, we are not built for senior. And let me tell you this, individuals that are thinking about pastoring, individuals that are thinking about churches and all of that stuff, just because you can preach does not mean you can pastor. Because pastoring is an administrative assignment. Preaching is the art. Pastoring is a science. Do you hear what I'm saying? Preaching is an art. Now, there's a science to preaching too, but in the performance of preaching, in the presentation of preaching, that is the art. But it takes an administration to pastor. Pastors are wired differently. See, you can't. Oh, can I say this? Can I say this? Can I say this? Those of you that's married, I'm just using this analogy. If you can't make love to your spouse when you mad, you can't be no pastor. If you can't still celebrate your spouse Even when they are not to the place where you desire for them to be, you're not ready to pastor. Because pastoring is I have to look at the face of adversity and still be able to speak over your life and still see your future. I have to see the foolish stuff that you may do or say or post and still call your future into you. I have to still come here every Monday, every Wednesday night. I have to come for Bibles. I have to be at Bible study. I have to be at Sundays. I can't tell you I don't feel like coming. Can I go deeper? I can't even tell you I'm sick. There have been times where I've been under the weather, but because we're still growing, I take some Tylenol, Excedrin, Goodies powder, Coca-Cola, whatever you need, ginger ale. You got to go preach. You have to preach because I don't get, Pastor Greer, we don't get to say, I'm not coming to church today because Sister so and so forgot to email me. They didn't let me know this and that and that. We don't get to say, I got to show up. But just because you have a leadership ability, I think that's what we need to really zoom in on. It's just because you have a leadership ability, it doesn't mean that you're number one. You may be a great number two. Thank you, Lily. Mucinex, getting all that sinus together, trying to get myself together. But all I'm saying is, make sure that you have the grace to lead it out. Make sure you have the grace to lead it out. I'm gonna talk about um, next week. I'm gonna deal with leadership and relationships because we're in the month of February, the month of February as of next week. But even those leaders that are in relationships, I'm not just talking about relationships like romantic relationships. Pastor Greg, you are number one. Um, but as a leader, you have to be bought in to whatever it is that God has given you. Because this is what I was talking about, the cost. It may cost some relationships. And as a pastor, I'm not telling you this to get a hard heart. As a leader, as an entrepreneur, as whatever you're doing, you have to have this mindset of on to the next. If it did not work here, I am on to the next. There are going to be some relationships that may be jeopardized because you may put more effort into what you're building. And if they and don't just hear someone say, I understand what you're doing. That that has to align with their actions as well and their emotions, that they really understand what it is that you're building. Because there are some people that would say, I understand, but you really don't understand. And that's why relationships could be jeopardized. But we have to be willing to drink the cup that there may be some connections, some friendships, there may be some old acquaintances that just won't work in this season because this is doing a lot of pulling away from my assignment versus adding to my assignment. And senior leaders, I want to say this too, and I'm done. I'm done. Watch those individuals because you'll know the difference between the two. You'll know the difference between watching individuals that's always trying to pull you out of your assignment. Oh, you need a day to yourself. You need a vacation. You need a week. You need it. You just need to be balanced. You need to do this. You need to do this. Go out of town. Go get on a plane. I get the heart of it. I get the heart of it because even me, I want my pastor to be healthy. I want him to be whole. That's why I told my leader. I said, I love when you start posting you on vacation with you and your family and you and your wife, y'all doing your thing. I love it. It ministers to me to know that you're living. But if I was telling him every week, I think you need to go. I think you need to come out from your assignment. Pastors listen to that and they're like, "What? This is what I'm called to." And let me say this too: in a season of building, he or she may not have balance right now. Balance will come. And I believe that there should be some pockets in all of our life that you got to unplug at some point. But unplugging doesn't always look like I got to go to Ireland for 7 days. No, unplugging could be go home, go to bed, take you some good Z-Quip, go to bed, eat good, go to bed and rest. Cut off all the lights, close the blinds, get you some sleep, put your phone on do not disturb because we're gonna need you. But just watch the individuals. It's like they always want you to go. They always want you to leave. They always want you to not be. They're always pulling you outside of your assignment. Balance will come. Do you see what I'm saying, G? The balance will come. That comes over time. But while you're building, I want to tell you from a person that's building right now. I'm gonna tell you from a person that's building right now. The wisdom is to find your pocket on when you get your rest. Find your pocket. But right now, while you're building, if that's what you're if that's what you're focused on, focus on what you're building. Don't get these folk out where you need to come out, find some balance will come. I'm building so I can be balanced, but I gotta build it first. You can't tell me that as a pastor, as a leader, that I'm pastoring 30 people and I need a vacation every other month. I don't need a vacation. I haven't worked hard for a Pastor, we just love you. You've been preaching. I get that. That's why I go to bed at night. I rest on Monday. I rest on Monday. I put something up. I put something up yesterday because I was at the church early yesterday. I said, yes, I believe that pastors should rest because they say that Mondays is the rest day of the pastor, the Sabbath day of the pastor. But that rest day has to be earned. How you taking a rest day and you still renting your church? How you taking a rest day and you only got 40 people? And out of them 40 people, you got 12 leaders that can help. And so really you're delegating the 12, and then the 12 are leading the 12 are leading the other 28. So you're not at the level yet to where you can have a rest day every Monday. Oh yeah, Doc, I chill. Really? I get it. I get it because you want to make sure. And then too, it may come with age because I'm still a young man, and so therefore I don't want to be in the house all day laying in the bed. That's not my case. I got to get up. I got to do something. I got to do something now. Maybe 10 years from now, I have I would have built what I'm building to the point to where I can lay back and sit on Mondays. But right now, I want you to know as a leader, but then I want my people to know that I rest. I get my rest. I promise you I rest. I promise you I sleep. Sometimes I sleep like a baby too. I sleep and I rest like a baby. There's some nights where I toss and turn, God's dealing with me. But I get rest. I'm good, but I'm young. God said that He called them young because they were strong. But then I'm also wise because I connect myself with individuals that has already been there and done it. That can say, son, pull back, nephew, pull back, cousin. You see what I'm saying? That I have people around me that that are able to say, do this and do that, or you're doing too much right now. Sit back. But see, that's what I'm talking about. That growth season. There's a growth season, then there's a grind season. And that season of growth, you can kind of pull back just a little bit, but not too much because you got to embrace what you're building. But then there's a grind season that it's all gas and no brakes. And so I pray that I shared something today that would help you grow in your ministry assignment, marketplace assignment, your domestic assignment. I pray that I shared something. I try to be as candid and as transparent as I can, because I believe that that's what God wants for us. Someone that can be real, that can pull back the layers of all of that, religious rhetoric, and someone that can pull it back. G, I see you. That can pull that back and really be real, um, and to say this is how you do it, but it's not going to come overnight. It has to be developed. When there is a system in place, now we can expect growth. If there is no system in place, what I am doing right now is develop that system, move in that system right now. If you're building a church, I'm just talking to church planners now. If you're building a church, if you're building a ministry, you're building a church or a ministry. You're building a church. I think I saw my brother Chase is on here. If you're building a church, you're building a ministry. Apostle Lewis, so good to see you. That's my brother, Prophet Lewis from Mississippi. But if you're building a church, I don't care if you're pastoring 15. Jesus pastored 12, and the 12 of them, well, 13 really, but the 12 disciples that Jesus pastored, they turned the world upside down to the point that all these thousand years later, we're still preaching about them. We're still walking and modeling ourselves after the 12. I know, I know, bro. Oh, my brother said, he said that quick. He said, I'm not building no church. No, no, no. But even building music ministry, right? Even building music ministry, that we're building with the next level in mind. So even those pastors that are building that, I'm not going to wait until I'm not going to wait until 200 come. I'm building and I'm working. I'm building and I'm working right now. I'm building and I'm working right now as if the 200 are already here. That was our campaign. That's our campaign this year. Hashtag Momentum 250. That we're believing God that between now and the end of the year, that there would be another, because there were 35. We already had 50. Then God added over 35. But we're believing God to be at least 250 strong by the end of this year, right? And so I'm pastoring every day as if we're already at 250. That's why contractors are here right now, because we are getting the blueprint, get all that stuff together, and how the new sanctuary, that just sounds good to me, on how the new sanctuary is going to look. We're doing some things too. Chase said, I'm coming. Oh my! I promise you, I'm going to run. I'm going to run, bro. I'm going to run. I promise you, I'm going to run. But we're building something that matters and building something. And then I want to also say this. I'm done. I'm talking about my church now. Talking about my church now, that God has given us something, that, yes, we're focused on building and growing, but then God gave us something because we worship at 9:30 every Sunday. And we understand that there's some individuals that may work on Sundays. They may work at a ministry on Sunday. They may be a part of something, or they may just cannot come to 9:30 service on Sunday mornings. Listen to what God gave us. I didn't say this on Sunday to the saints, but I'm gonna say it now. I should have said it on Sunday, but as of March of this year, we're going to two services every Sunday, two encounters every Sunday, 9:30 a.m. worship service and 6 p.m. worship service every Sunday, because God ministered to me, because there are some individuals that we cover and pastor, they work at churches. They're out. They're doing their thing. And so every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. That will be in worship. That's every Sunday starting in the month of March, and we're excited and glad about that. But that's also a strategy that God has given us to grow our ministry, to grow the church. I believe that God doesn't give us anything just to let it lie dormant and just let the chips fall where they may know. We have to be proactive about the growth, and so I'm excited. I'm excited about that because that's when we really gonna see. And it was just on me. And I've asked little people here and there. I asked this person, that person, and it was one lady in our church, Elder Butler. I said, Elder Butler, I said, so what you think about Sunday night service? And she's from up north, so she says, I think it's brilliant. She said, I think it is. I think it puts us back in that mindset of New York church. We used to church in the morning and then come back for night service. And then because I still work at a ministry on Sunday mornings right now. God's gonna call me off in a minute, but I still work at 11:45. So I'm preaching at 9:30. Church is over around 11:30. I'm usually out the door, so I don't really have a lot of time to mingle and to fellowship after church in the lobby. I'm usually coming to the office, change clothes, greet, and then I'm gone out the door